I'm divorcing you because my mistress is pregnant with a boy. A defective product that can't bear a son should get out.
Mistress? You mean that woman? I pointed at the woman next to Samuel. Then, she retorted with displeasure.
I'm not just any woman, I'm Natalie. How rude of you.
Exactly, which is why I'm dumping her. Both Samuel and Natalie laughed. I was taken aback. How can they so brazenly talk about having a mistress? Normally, that's something you'd hide. And now they're joking about divorcing because the mistress is pregnant? There's a limit to how much you can jest. Does he have any idea how much I've been putting up with? Well, this divorce actually works out in my favor. I have plenty of evidence, and he's admitted to the affair. I'll gladly dump such a husband in exchange for a hefty alimony. I'll make sure he hits rock bottom, so he better brace himself. Clenching my back teeth, I headed to my room. My name is Michelle Brown. I'm a 43-year-old stay-at-home mom raising 4 daughters. My eldest, 11, and the second one, 9, are school-aged, so they can handle most things by themselves. But the youngest 2 are 5-year-old twins, still requiring a lot of care. Still, I keep reminding myself that this phase of constant caregiving is only temporary. Thinking this way makes me cherish these precious days even more. You might think we have a happy family life from this conversation. But that's far from the truth. My parents-in-law, who live with us, are constantly critical of me, and my husband Samuel hardly ever comes home. Our marital and family relations are terrible, to say the least. Samuel is probably cheating on someone out there. I've even hired a private investigator to track his activities. But the girls need their father. With that thought, it seems impossible to just get a divorce. The frustration inside me keeps growing. I feel that if we weren't living with my parents-in-law, things might not have turned out this way. It's something I regret, but at the time, there was nothing I could do. Samuel and I met through a mutual acquaintance. Back then, I was working as a hairdresser at my mother's salon, and I was close with a lady named Anna from the neighborhood. There's a man around your age at my favorite jewelry store. Anna started like that and began telling me about this man. His name was Samuel Brown. The heir to a jewelry business. An elite graduate, he was too busy with work to meet women. Why don't you meet him? Someone like me and an elite like him? We're not a match. Just meeting should be fine. Eventually, I couldn't refuse and agreed to meet Samuel. Surprisingly, we hit it off. I was impressed by his fondness for children and his smart, elite demeanor. That's how we started dating with marriage in mind. Later, when Samuel proposed, I accepted his marriage proposal. However, when I went to Samuel's parents' house to announce our marriage, his father said to me, "Our family runs a business. Both my wife and I are busy, so we need a daughter-in-law who can handle household chores. I've been living with my mother, and I do all the housework." Hearing this, my mother-in-law's demeanor changed. "Oh. If you're good at housework, why don't we live together? It'll be convenient for both of us, right?" I was taken aback. I couldn't understand how it would be convenient for anyone. But before I knew it, the decision to live together was made. I regretted it, but it was too late to change anything. Samuel seemed to agree with the arrangement. I thought, once things settle down, I can bring up living separately. Samuel will be on my side, right? I compromised with these thoughts. That was a big mistake. As soon as we got married, my mother-in-law dumped all the household chores on me. "Michelle, I have to go to work, so please take care of the cleaning and laundry." Yes. My mother-in-law was technically an employee at her husband's company. But it was just for show. Basically, she shoved the housework onto me and went off to enjoy herself. The atmosphere at home never really allowed for a conversation about living separately. Resignedly, I sighed. Still, I could tolerate being burdened with household chores, especially since Samuel's income was good and I became a stay-at-home mom after our marriage. So, I diligently took care of the housework, though I grumbled about it. However, one day, my father-in-law made a request. "We're in a bind because one of the part-timers can't make it. Can you help out at the jewelry store?" His company, which dealt in jewelry sales, had both wholesale operations and its own retail stores. Basically, he was telling me to work as a salesperson at one of these stores. I was displeased, but living with him made it hard to refuse, without worsening the atmosphere at home. Reluctantly, I agreed to help out. This turned out to be my second big mistake. Once my father-in-law saw I was willing to help, he repeatedly asked me to assist with the company's work. I had missed my chance to refuse and ended up doing whatever he asked. Honestly, I had even considered divorce. Then, I discovered I was pregnant. When I shared the news with my parents-in-law, they were overjoyed, throwing their hands up in the air.
Fantastic, Michelle. From now on, your health comes first. You don't have to do any housework or work, okay?
Yes.
Right. I need to inform the relatives.
My father-in-law began frantically contacting relatives. Watching this with a smile, Samuel spoke to me. Sorry about this. Dad and Mom are just excited. No, it's fine. I'm happy they're happy. Good. Just focus on delivering a healthy baby. Samuel's words were the most encouraging. From that day, my life changed drastically. The household chores, which had been thrust upon me, were now taken over by my mother-in-law. Meanwhile, I was treated like a princess, with everything done for me. My father-in-law didn't ask for help with work anymore. Looks like I can have a peaceful childbirth now. Relieved, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl a few months later. However, when my in-laws came to see the baby, their faces fell. Anxiously, I showed them the baby. Look, a healthy baby girl. I've named her Catherine. Oh, I see. That's a nice name. My mother-in-law was visibly disappointed. And my father-in-law's reaction was the same. Well, they say first a girl, then a boy. So, you should have a boy next time. Yes. I was confused. After my in-laws left, I asked Samuel about their strange behavior. Your parents were acting weird. What happened? Probably because it was a girl. What do you mean? Samuel, looking disappointed, explained that his family had been running the company since his grandfather's time. As it was a family business, they needed a male heir. So, my parents-in-law were hoping for a boy. In other words, they were disappointed it wasn't a boy. Well, just make sure the next one is a boy, Samuel said with a sullen expression. I was infuriated. Was he implying a girl couldn't be an heir? That's not true. A girl can work too. In fact, for a jewelry business, a girl might even be more advantageous. What is wrong with these people? I found myself wanting a divorce immediately. But I can't leave because of Catherine. At least until she grows up, I'll endure it. After being discharged from the hospital, I returned home. My life reverted back to what it was before pregnancy. Every day, I'm burdened with both household chores and work. And now I have to take care of Catherine as well. I lived each day gritting my teeth. Eventually, I became pregnant again. But it was another girl. I named her Christina, but neither my parents-in-law nor Samuel showed any interest. A few years later, I got pregnant for the third time. Only to find out it was twin girls. Predictably, my parents-in-law and Samuel showed no interest. Worse, they continued to dump housework on me. Even after giving birth to the twins, nothing changed. I seriously started considering divorce. During this time, Samuel and I argued over our daughter's education. It's fine to leave girls alone, they don't need much education. Nowadays, girls need to study too, aiming for university.
What? As long as a woman looks good, she can get married. No need for studies.
Samuel and I fought like this every day. Naturally, things between us kept getting worse. Eventually, Samuel started spending more nights away from home. He must be cheating somewhere, I thought, and anger welled up inside me. Enduring this isn't good for my health. I visited a detective agency nearby and requested an investigation into Samuel's behavior. It'll take a few weeks for the results. I should prepare for everything, I decided. First, I talked to my daughters. Your father and I might not be able to get along anymore. The younger ones seemed not to understand. But Catherine and Christina appeared to grasp the situation. I'm okay with it. I don't like Dad anyway.
Yeah. Dad's always angry. I don't like him either.
It seems my daughters have taken after me. This means I can bring up divorce when the time is right. I felt relieved. Then, one Sunday morning, someone visited our house early. Wondering who it could be, I saw Samuel bring in a guest. "Michelle, we need to talk." Samuel brought a young woman with him. She wore flashy makeup and was smiling oddly.
"Since you couldn't produce an heir, I went out and found a woman who can."
"What? A woman who can produce an heir?" Confused by this, thinking it's just an affair, I watched as Samuel caressed the woman's belly and declared, "Well, that's the situation." In that moment, everything became clear to me. At the same time, Samuel continued, smirking.
"I'm divorcing you because my mistress is pregnant with a boy. A defective product that can't bear a son should get out." "Mistress? You mean that woman?"
I pointed at the woman next to Samuel. Then, she retorted with displeasure.
"I'm not just any woman, I'm Natalie." "How rude of you."
"Exactly, which is why I'm dumping her." Both Samuel and Natalie laughed. I was taken aback. How can they so brazenly talk about having a mistress? Normally, that's something you'd hide. And now they're joking about divorcing because the mistress is pregnant? There's a limit to how much you can jest. Does he have any idea how much I've been putting up with? Well, this divorce actually works out in my favor. I have plenty of evidence, and he's admitted to the affair. I'll gladly dump such a husband in exchange for a hefty alimony. I'll make sure he hits rock bottom, so he better brace himself. Clenching my back teeth, I headed to my room. My gaze fell upon my 4 daughters standing in front of the room. I pulled them close and whispered, "I couldn't make up with your father."
"Don't cry, Mom, we're here for you."
Catherine consoled me. I hugged my 4 daughters tightly. Then we began preparing to move. I contacted a moving company and also called my mother.
"Hey, Mom? About the other day. You couldn't make it work, could you?"
She gently asked. I had told her when I requested the investigation. I suspected Samuel was cheating, and I might get a divorce. "Yeah, well.
Then it's going to be tough from here. Come back home immediately. I'm getting everything ready." "Thank you, Mom."
After that, I moved back to my childhood home with my 4 daughters. Although I had been worried, the girls didn't seem downhearted. In fact, they were even excited about going to their grandmother's house. However, that wasn't the end of it. There were still matters of child support and alimony to be resolved. Back at my parents' house, I can resume working as a hairstylist. But realistically, I need child support to make ends meet. I hope Samuel will agree to a reasonable settlement. That was my only concern. After moving, I started discussions with Samuel about alimony. But as expected, we were at an impasse.
"You're divorcing me because I cheated. You couldn't have a son, that's why. I did nothing wrong,"
Samuel said defiantly. Does he not see his affair as wrong? His childish attitude was exasperating. Eventually, months went by without any resolution. And Samuel barely answered my calls anymore. Do I have to go to his company? I wondered. Just then, my phone rang unexpectedly. It was Samuel. "Michelle, can you talk right now?"
"After all this time avoiding me, now you want to talk?"
"How convenient for you." I snapped back, irritated. Samuel fell silent. Realizing I might lose this chance, I continued, hoping he wouldn't hang up. "So, what did you want to talk about?" "Well, would you consider remarrying me?" I thought I had misheard him. So I asked again. "Did you just say remarry?" "You're joking, right?" "I'm not joking. Things are just terrible now." Samuel seemed really down. Despite the hassle, I asked why. He then began this story. A few days before the phone call, Samuel's parents had called him at work, saying Natalie was about to give birth. Thinking a long-awaited son was about to be born, Samuel rushed to the hospital. When he arrived, Natalie had already given birth. However, Samuel's parents were in a state of shock outside the delivery room. Samuel asked the doctor about Natalie and was told the birth was successful. Confused, he went to see the baby. Upon reaching the newborn nursery, a nurse pointed out his child. But at that moment, Samuel said he turned pale. The baby was clearly not mine. What? But if the baby was just born? I was about to say it's hard to tell such things, I began, but Samuel interrupted loudly. The baby had pale skin and blonde hair. It seemed the child clearly had completely different features than Samuel. Figures. I found myself replying. Samuel snapped back, irritated. What do you mean figures? Before you brought up divorce, I had an investigation done on you. An investigation? Samuel raised his voice in surprise. I continued, unfazed. I also had your affair partner, Natalie, was it? I had her checked out too. And? She had other close male acquaintances, including some of European background. I said mockingly. Could one of them be the real father? I thought, she was only with me. You believe that? That's laughable.
Why would a young woman be satisfied with an older man?
I laughed loudly. Samuel, infuriated, yelled.
Shut up! Don't laugh!
Ignoring him, I laughed heartily and then broached the subject of child support and alimony. Regarding the child support and alimony.
Shut up! I said I want to remarry. And I refused.
He shouted even louder.
If you don't want to remarry, then you raise this baby. That's the condition for paying alimony and child support.
What an absurd thing for him to say. I was dumbfounded and couldn't even respond. He took the opportunity to hang up, cutting off the call. From then on, I couldn't get through to him anymore. If he won't answer the phone, we can't discuss anything. I don't want to see him, but I have no choice but to go to his office. I muttered as I pocketed my smartphone. Then I headed downstairs to the beauty salon. There, Anna, one of our clients, was waiting. My mother was attending to another customer nearby. I approached Anna with a business smile. Sorry to keep you waiting. It's okay. More importantly, I'm sorry for any trouble caused by that matter. Anna said, carefully avoiding mentioning Samuel's name. No, it's fine. Just having some issues with the alimony. Are you really okay? Anna looked at me with concern. I masked my feelings with a forced laugh. He doesn't think he's done anything wrong, so it seems he has no intention of apologizing. That's tough. It would cause an uproar online, but I don't plan to blow things up that much. I answered with a laugh. Then, I noticed my mother's customer eavesdropping. If bad rumors spread, maybe that's for the best. Pretending to be oblivious, I started working. Eventually, my mother's other customer left. After a while, Anna spoke up. Michelle, were you okay with not warning that customer just now? Apparently, she had noticed the eavesdropping too. If bad rumors spread, it might teach him a lesson. I replied with a smile. Soon, I finished Anna's haircut. And let my mother take over while I retreated to the back. Later, I tried calling Samuel, but he didn't answer. A few days later. On a day the salon was closed, I went to Samuel's company. He wasn't there and was reportedly at the retail store. Reluctantly, I headed to the retail location. As soon as I entered the store, I heard a familiar voice. Oh. What brings you here? I looked up to see my mother-in-law standing at the counter. It's been a while. Coming all the way here, what an indecent woman you are. She retorted, though her strong words belied a somewhat haggard appearance. It seemed the revelation about Natalie's child not being Samuel's had affected her greatly. I smirked and addressed her. Can't help it, can I? Since he keeps running away. What did you say? I just want to be compensated. How do you plan to take responsibility? My words caused a stir among the customers in the store. Realizing the situation, my mother-in-law started to panic. Stop this, right here, please. But money can settle this, right? That's better for everyone, isn't it? I said, deliberately provoking. The atmosphere grew tense as the onlookers began to murmur. Unable to bear it, my mother-in-law pulled my hand and led me to the back of the store. There, Samuel was working. She called out to him. Samuel, you have a visitor. Samuel looked up. The moment our eyes met. Michelle? I had to calm myself since you were ignoring me so much. No, I wasn't ignoring. I mean. Samuel was clearly flustered. I couldn't help but laugh. So, about the child support and alimony, what's your plan? That's, well. You can afford it, right? Future company president. I teased. And then, Samuel seemed to give up, slumping in defeat.
All right, I get it. I'll pay.
This marked the beginning of our discussion about child support and alimony. However, this wasn't a detailed negotiation. In fact, the calculations for the alimony and other payments were already completed. All that was left was for Samuel to sign an agreement. He had been avoiding this because he was still fixated on remarrying me. My presence here was to utterly dismiss any notion of us getting back together. I watched, almost amused, as Samuel signed the papers. As I left the place, I was approached by someone. Turning, I saw Natalie standing there, her clothes tattered. A far cry from how she looked that day. "It's been a while. What happened to you? You look a mess," I said, almost teasingly. Natalie bristled at my words.
"It's your fault. Because you wouldn't take the baby."
Natalie had been kicked out by Samuel because I refused to take care of her child. And now she was blaming me for her plight. She didn't seem to understand that she had brought this upon herself. Anyway, I didn't want to be the one receiving her complaints. So, I diverted her attention. "Don't blame me.
Why don't you just ask Samuel for alimony?"
"But, Samuel is angry because he found out that my child isn't his," Natalie said, looking downcast. I smirked. "I'm sure he'll listen to you now." He was in a good mood, considering he listened to me. Of course, this was a lie. But, if Natalie went into the store, it would surely cause a scene. And following our earlier exchange, this would lead to more trouble. Samuel's company's reputation would plummet. That's what I was thinking. "Really? Then I'll go," Natalie decided and walked into the store. I watched her go and then walked away from the store. I didn't check what happened, but that night, the local news reported a woman causing a scene at the store. That'll teach her a lesson, I thought to myself smugly. However, a few days later, things took an unexpected turn. It was a few days after I had met with Samuel. I was preparing to open my shop when the phone rang. "Thank you for calling. Is this for a reservation?" I assumed it was a customer and replied with the usual phrase. But on the other end of the line, amidst the noise of people, I heard the voice of my mother-in-law.
"It's not a reservation. What have you done?"
Are you Samuel's mother?" I asked, taken aback. Her voice grew louder.
"It's your doing, isn't it? Right now, people are swarming the store."
"What? Are you saying the store is popular?"
"No. They're all here to cancel their orders."
Suddenly, the call ended amid a burst of loud voices. I was baffled. Reluctantly, after informing my mother, I headed to Samuel's company's store. Approaching the store, I saw a massive crowd. Samuel and our parents-in-law were trying to calm the gathered people. Soon, my mother-in-law spotted me. At that moment, she raised her voice loudly.
"What are you going to do about this?"
"What's happening here? There are rumors of bankruptcy. And it's all your fault." I was clueless, having no idea what she meant. So, I asked her to explain everything from the beginning. Here's what she told me. On the day I visited the store, a customer had come in. They had purchased some jewelry but then started insisting on canceling it. My mother-in-law, who hadn't yet ordered the product, readily agreed to the cancellation. However, the number of customers wanting to cancel gradually increased, eventually leading to a crowd. Hearing this, something clicked in my mind. I decided not to mention my suspicion but to ask the reason instead. Why did this happen? Some rumors on the internet are saying it's dangerous. As we spoke, the crowd pushed me away, separating me from Samuel and his mother. Eventually, I had to leave the scene. It was only a few days later that I learned the full story. Here's what happened. The catalyst was a conversation at my beauty salon. On that day, a client overheard my conversation with Anna. That person anonymously posted online. "There's a dispute over alimony involving the son of a jewelry company president." They probably thought it was safe to post anonymously. Initially, that alone wasn't a problem. However, a few days later, I had a public argument with my mother-in-law at the store. Someone who saw this wrote a similar post online. "There's a commotion at a certain jewelry store. Something about alimony." The final straw was Natalie's incident making the news. After that, it was easy to identify the company in store. As expected, they were identified, and rumors started circulating that the store was in trouble. The rumors led to the company being on the brink of bankruptcy, with customers rushing to cancel their orders. It was like the old-fashioned bank runs. Anyway, the company that faced a slew of cancellations did go bankrupt. Samuel and our parents-in-law ended up with debts. They lost their assets and now are living a life of part-time jobs. This situation made me worry about whether I would receive child support and alimony. I should have taken the child support and alimony in a lump sum. I sometimes thought that way. But I can live quietly with my 4 daughters. I think that alone is sufficient for happiness. It goes without saying that my daughters are more important than money.